Filipino Hawaii. My name is Ilona O'Brien, and today we have a very special segment, fashion and lifestyle, with a very special guest, Iris Gill, Viacrusis. Viacrusis. I hope that's a good way to pronounce it. But anyways, here he is, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and God, look at, I am wearing one of your creations.
It looks better than being in a mannequin, so it's
yeah, I mean, if I was telling everybody that, I mean, it feels good to wear this, you know.
Well, that's good.
I'm so forced to, like, feel feminine and, you know, have
well, that's
great
pretty much
posture.
it. One of the things I always tell people, it's like, you know, it is the epitome of, you know, Filipiniana. So it is our national costume. In this particular case, it's the terno or the mestiza. And it's something that I've always promoted. I mean, you know, been in LA, San Francisco, you know, and actually worked in Paris for 3.5 years. It's, you know, it's something that I could, you know, go back to, and it's really distinguished as Filipino. So, and I'm always proud to actually, you know, use different materials and things like that to translate it in different forms and things and stuff like that. Like in this case, you have, you know, this material was actually resurrected from a very vintage Japanese kimono. So, and, you know, rather than rotting away in somebody's closet, it brings new life.
Yeah, I can definitely get used to it. So tell me about the journey and why you decided to, this is going to be my home. Hawaii is going to be it for me.
Well, I guess let me start, you know, a little bit in regards to my background. That I was born in Olongapo City, and we migrated because my dad worked for the Naval Base in Subic Bay, and we have a special immigration papers that was granted to our family to actually travel together. So I was 13 when we traveled, and then, I mean, moved to California. So that's basically where most of my, the rest of my schooling finished and things and stuff. So I went to college. I was actually business management, believe it or not. But after finishing that, working in the bank, I was actually a loan processor. I was a buyer for a computer company. And then when I moved to LA, well, even before that, I already, you know, part of my schooling, I was taking minor in fine arts. I've always loved art, so I love to draw and things and stuff like that. It's funny where I would do a life drawing, which is like nude drawings and things like that, and after it's been graded and things like that, if it's a female model that I end up, like, you know, putting dresses on her instead. So, but it's always been there that I actually could mold my drawings and ideas in that particular fashion. So from that, I took a course, evening classes and things like that after working in the bank, you know, like I said, as a loan processing person. You know, I would go into fashion design in the evening. And I never been a very risky person in regards to putting everything in fashion immediately and things like that. I guess I'm one of those people who really didn't have that much confidence in the beginning in regards to what my capability is. So, but it's always in there. I think a lot of people, you know, take that for granted in regards to what's really deep inside them, that really wanted to come out. So after I decided to go ahead and do finishing in fashion design in LA, I decided to move from Silicon Valley to LA. That's when I finished the design, but the industry is changing, and a lot of people don't realize that there's so many different aspects of design. And one of the things that I wanted to do is really haute couture, one of a kind, and things and stuff like that. So on the back of my head, I still have this inkling that there is that European refinement that I really like. In growing up in the Philippines, it's something that's actually, you know, embodies our culture, being, you know, under the influence of the Spaniards for more than 500 years. You know, we have that flair. So, and, you know, looking to the different things and stuff like that. So I love the historical aspect of our culture. So every time every chance I have, I would be collecting books and things and stuff like that. And I've always been fascinated about it. And then so later on, I went into, a little bit more fashion designing in LA. But like I said, it's a changing world every time. And I said, the golden age of Hollywood was gone in a sense, because a lot of the dresses that you see with the movie stars are actually coming from Europe. So they have stylists now and things and stuff like that. So even that particular aspect of dressing has completely changed. And so I said, well, if they're getting the dresses over there, then I would like to go. And I actually fell in love with Paris. My budget at that time, I only have, a budget for 6 months to live there. And it became 3.5 years. And this is a minor schooling of French. So I was just like, forced in there and things. And one of the major accomplishment was enrolling myself in a French fashion school, which is like the most premier, which is the École Syndicale de la Couture, which the alumni include Yves Saint Laurent, Karl Lagerfeld, Valentino. So it was the premier school, and it's all French. And I have to, be in that school speaking only Français. So je parle français.
So you know how to,
Yes.
So you're trilingual now.
Yes, and actually, well, Spanish is one of the things that I actually took in school, because even French was something that I kind of like, shied away from, not knowing that that's something that I really wanted, but it seems like it's so difficult. But once you're in there, you're really immersed in it, so you actually learn. It's like being thrown in the water, and you just have to paddle your way and things and stuff like that. So I was blessed. So there's a lot of opportunities that was open. I worked in a couture house. I was a design assistant for Abraham Pelham, which does have a small couture house in Paris. So we would do fashion shows and things. And then later on, I went to work for Malia Kent, which is a textile designer company in Paris and things stuff like that. And we would weave.
Wow.
So, and that actually expanded, again, my horizons and things and stuff like that. And, the designs that I would do for the fabric company and things like that will be picked up by the major designers and things like that. And that's how I would get to go to some of the fashion shows, like Chanel shows and things and stuff like that. There's a couple of fabrics that I designed that was used on the collection. So we got a special invitation and things and stuff like that. So that was really, really exciting. But again, it's one of those things that there's something else missing. Because the thing is, like, I'm still working for someone and things and stuff like that. I don't get to explore what I really wanted to do. And then when I decided to go home and things and stuff like that, my dad actually was the one who's already retired here in Hawaii from California and things and stuff like that. And, through a lot of conversation and things and stuff like that. And I said, well, okay, fine, I'll go ahead and stay with you and things like that. In particular, my mother passed away and things and stuff like that. So it's something that, even an emotional growth had to happen there and things.
Well, I have to tell you, your story is one of the greatest and inspiring Filipino stories I've ever heard. Because I would tell you, you're not only going back to your roots, because that's part of your creativity that you wanted to explore and enrich, is going back into your roots. And then, from using all the materials from, different sources, you don't really stick into this, whatever the school taught you, for you to focus on. And that's very admirable, I would say. I think that we have a lot of kababayans who would find themselves in France and in the United States and forget all about our roots.
That's one of the things I always tell people. I'm actually becoming a little sort of like, a cultural ambassador in a sense and things and stuff like that, where that's something, moving to here in Hawaii and things like that, a lot of people are questioning, and that's actually what led to my exhibit my collection and things and stuff like that, which is called Habi and Baro, which again started with in Paris and things stuff like that when I was learning how to weave. And I said, well, in the Philippines and things stuff like that, if I would have stayed a longer in Paris, I probably would have explored that and brought over the piña and the usi and the abaca and things and stuff like that. And when I finally decided to move to Hawaii and things like that, that was a question that a lot of people were asking because it's a big melting pot. I mean, coming from California, the same way and things and stuff like that. And people would question, there is a big body of Filipinos here in Hawaii, and yet not very many people could actually really explain what Filipino is all about. From older people, they would say, yeah, I was born and raised, but my parents said, oh, forget about the Philippines. It's already, it's the past. It's back there. You don't do those things here. But there's actually a lot of historical things that we actually start doing. We have the Rizal Parade and all this and all that. But at the same time, it's one of those things that, again, it's nice that we actually live in a country where being Filipino could be celebrated. Nowhere in the world that we actually will. And that's one of the things that I keep on getting involved in a lot of public things and stuff like that in regards to promoting our culture. And so that's what led to that Habi at Baro collection. I have to explain to people, it's like, well, there's more than 200 different dialects that we have in the Philippines. There's a lot of minor, ethnic groups and things and stuff like that. And so that led to that. People had told me, well, why don't you do a collection? And an exhibit explaining those things.
Iris Gill, very famous for me, at least. One of the best fashion and interior designers, Filipino-American here in Hawaii. And we were talking about how Filipino culture kind of like been put aside compared to other culture and compared to other even for food, Thai food,
Yes.
even Vietnamese food, But when it comes to fashion and design, I mean, what do you think of Filipino? We have a few out there who's, found their way really excelling in that industry.
Well, the thing about it is, like, one of the things that I recognize about us Filipinos and things like that is we're very, very shy. So it's one of those characteristics that we have that, mahiyain. Even at work and things and stuff like that, a lot of people actually like to hire us and things and stuff like that because we're hard workers. I hate the word. It's one of those things that, it's not that we're hard worker. We have integrity in our work. So it's a completely different word in regards to, a lot of Filipinos actually have this thing where we always have the need to actually excel based on what we have gone through in the Philippines and what we don't have in things. And even with that being said, a lot of times here in Hawaii, we were brought over here as migratory workers and things and stuff like that, which is one of the things I keep on saying people when I'm saying this, because I'm actually... my partner that you met earlier and things like that, we actually run a business together, which is in a nursery. So we actually do plant. We do have a magnet orchards. We have avocados that we sell and things and stuff like that. So again, it's one of those things that even like, the very chic thing to do now, which this sustainability and going green and so on and so forth. I said to Filipinos who are the younger ones in the school, because I'm actually doing mentoring with the UH, I said, you don't need to actually follow the mainstream. All you have to do is look behind you. Look at your parents. Look at your grandparents. Look at your home. If you look in the backyards of Filipinos and things like that, what do you see? The malunggay tree. It's a Philippine flag. It has something to do with our connection to the Aina and things and stuff like that. To this day, we're actually the larger body of group in Hawaii that's still farming the Aina. So I said, going green, sustainability, and so on and so forth, and things like that is actually still in us. It's actually in our culture that you have to actually, you don't have to look very far. A lot of times I even try to tell people when they're asking me, oh, you've been to all these places and things like that, why settle in Puna in all places? And I said, well, I like the quality of life that I would have. I'd rather have a simple life that I could create and do these things. You know, the quality of life is what really is missing in Filipinos' vocabulary.
Well, do you think that we're not pushing ourselves, like harder to the point that, okay, we really are talented, we really have so much to offer?
And that's exactly what I try to expose in regards to things like, because a lot of times people think that what I do is actually, very superficial. Dressing up, looking nice, looking pretty, and things like that. I said, no, there's actually a culture attachment to it. The funny thing is, leading to the very place that we are, and where I live in Hilo area and things and stuff like that. What's the main thing in Hilo? Merry Monarch. They perpetuate the culture and things and stuff like that to the T. And I said, how come we don't look around in our neighbors and things like that? We actually have a lot of Filipinos that are actually intermarried with Hawaiian and things and stuff like that. And yet the Hawaiian, gets perpetuated, and the Filipinos is like, oh, you're book. It's like, I said, embrace that kind of thing.
Book, what is book?
Well, see, that's even that particular thing that which, it's something that I tried to actually, break free from. I said, there's a lot of different translation to it on how it actually came about. One history was, you're sitting in your house and things and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you hear this noise go buck, 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 and it was actually a brown, ugly car, getting ready to broken down and things like that. And they would say it's typically a Filipino who's driving it.
Oh, wow.
And another thing is, book actually in Tagalog, I don't know if it's actually even in Ilocano language and things and stuff like that, that means a beetle, a borer. It's the little beetle that actually, damages your rice.
Okay.
And I said, that's kind of like a little insulting that we're actually past. So, and I said, it's something that I said, I don't understand that. I said, it's fine that it's in jokes and things and stuff like that, but take it at heart that it actually is a derogatory term. So I said, there is a lot to us that we could dress up pretty. We're actually really, really nice. We actually have titles in beauty pageants. We actually have Miss Universe titles at one point. And if you look at some of the actresses and things like that, there's a lot to us. There's a lot of creativity and talents that we have that it's always set aside where, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Monique Lullier, for example. She is a designer in Hollywood and things and stuff like that. But being Filipino is the last thing that she would actually ever be noted as.
Okay.
You don't even see it in you would never see her in a design as prestige as her shop in LA is.
Right.
You would never see a terno in her shop. Why? So, and again, my whole thing about it, I was like, it's Lullier, so she wants to have that mystique that it's actually French and things and stuff like that. And I said, that's the sad thing. Cheryl Burke, in Dancing with the Star, everybody watches Dancing with the Star. Did you ever see her dressed in a Filipiniana dress?
No, I think it boils down to the point that I don't know if they're really proud.
Well, that's exactly one of the things that's why I keep on telling people. So going back to the Mayor Monarch and things and stuff like that. Well, another note to it is, Trias, what's her name from? Jasmine Trias. She was Hawaiian to a lot of people and not Filipina. So that's one of the things that I kind of like. I was like, okay, well, wait a minute. What happened to that particular? Even the Boracchio, she was Miss Hawaii. I mean, Miss Hawaii to become Miss America. Was there any notation whatsoever? So those are the things that again, Robert, going back to the Merry Monarch and things and stuff like that, the funny thing is, because I was doing the dresses for the court and things and stuff like that, imagine a Filipino doing historical costumes and things like that for the ali'i and things like that. I was actually granted a special permission to go to Bishop Museum to actually look at and research the existing gowns of the ali'i and things and stuff like that. So in that little conversation and things like that, come to find out, more than a lot of the girls dancing hula have Filipinos in them. Aside from a lot of them are Filipinos and things and stuff like that. And then down to the royal court, there was like a pair of king and queen. They were actually Filipinos. And so that actually came to that particular thing where I actually talked to Angeluana, which make a note of it and things stuff like that. Mayor Monarch 2015 on the Ohiki night and things and stuff like that. I was actually granted to actually bring in a Filipino group of dancers and things and stuff like that to represent us in the cultural night, which is the Ohiki night.
Congratulations!
Those are the kind of things that a lot of times people is like, how come this never happened before? It's been in here and all these things and stuff like that. It's not to say, I don't want to really, people get so arming up in regards to getting upset with these celebrities. And
That's right. I know. I mean, you are our pride too. With the way that you are, the way that you're spreading the culture with your creation, it's another form of us being, proud Filipinos.
Like I said, it's something that I was blessed enough to actually have this desire and things and stuff like that. And a lot of doors have opened for that particular opportunity. It was my first time to actually write a grant, and I got, out of the 5, I got 4.
Nice.
It was quite amazing and things like that. And that led to that Hobby at Baro collection where I got special fundings from the county, from special foundations and things and stuff like that, that I got to travel all over the Philippines.
Nice.
The more I travel the Philippines, the wonder, opens wider and wider and things stuff like that in regards to why Filipinos do not appreciate these things and stuff like that. I got to the north, all the way to Zamboanga.
Don't you think that we're so influenced by many things? From Spaniards, long time we've been, colonized, but to the point that, we're all like jack of all trades. And I mean, that's why I'm very, very envious of you, because you've been a bank person, you worked somewhere else, but then you followed your passion, and then you went deep into your roots and used that and kind of like and look at you now. You're
like I said, it's something that I was fortunate enough to actually find that particular calling.
I love talking stories with
Yes.
you. You're very inspirational. I'm just looking at this, and tell us real quick, what is that made of again?
Okay, well, this one, again, with my Hobby at Baro collection and things and stuff like that, I explored different regions of the Philippines and stuff like that. Hobby means weaving and things and stuff like that, and everything revolves around, every ethnic culture, minor group that we have a special weaving. This is actually a baka, which is a banana fiber.
It's really light. Huh?
Yes, it's actually a little bit more coarse than usual and things and stuff like that, because it could be really, really fine.
Yeah.
And this is, of course, the palora in Ilocano, or the mestiza sleeve, or the butterfly sleeve. So I'm actually converting it. And I brought a aloha print in the Philippines and things and stuff like that, and asked one of the embroiders that I met over there to embroider that in this. So again, bringing Hawaii, bringing Philippines to Hawaii, merging the two. The terno that you're wearing, again, Ariel, who's going to be wearing this terno and things like that, is part Japanese. So I took that opportunity to actually, use the materials, this Japanese old kimono, and translate it into this. So
yeah, they hold this for something. What is that? Like a form of like a.
Well, normally what it is like I said, it's normally done in a natural fiber and things and stuff like that, and they would submerge it in cornstarch to actually stiffen it and things and stuff like that. The funny thing about the history of the Barong Tagalog or the piña or the usti and things like that is the transparency of the materials was. It's actually oppressions of Filipinos by the Spaniards, so they could reveal concealed weapons underneath.
Wow!
And
I didn't know that.
And one of the historical thing on it, and things like that. This is actually your typical barot saya, in a sense, and this is a panuelo that you put, which is becomes the Maria Clara. But with the Spanish bringing in the laces and things and stuff like that, the poor Filipinos have nothing. So they actually learned how to embroider and things and stuff like that. So with the pineapples weavings and everything else and stuff like that. They learn how to weave and learn how to embroider to mimic those laces and things and stuff like that. So all of a sudden it rivals the laces from Europe and things and stuff like that. And again, making it a stylish look for the Filipinos back then to say, you know, fine, you're oppressing us and things and stuff like that, but we could make it as a stylish. We rise to the occasion in regards to our creativity and you know, and it becomes our pride in regards to doing all of a sudden. Again, that's something that I try to, you know, instill in Filipinos' head, where it is a fine artistry. It is art. A lot of people think it's like, oh, it's just damit lang yan or something like that. It's not, because the thing is, like, you know, it embodies the spirit of the person doing it. You know, even like when the weavings, you'll see it in the pictures and things and stuff like that. Like with these things, where it's a community process. Somebody would pick up the leaves and things and stuff like that. Another person would start to, you know, harvest it. There would be one person that would knot these things individually. Imagine your hair. Knotting it like about this size, knotting it individually and things like that to make your yarn.
Wow.
And that's even before it actually gets, you know, woven. After it's woven, then another person gets embroider it and things and stuff like that. So when you buy things from the Philippines and things like that, especially the native materials, it's a community project.
Wow.
There's a lot more people that you're actually embracing and supporting. And a lot of times people, oh, it's expensive and things like that. Well, because there's like 10 people that actually manage to actually produce one item.
Oh, wow. You know, just the subject of Filipino culture with you is just going to like go on forever.
We could go on.
I know. But I just real quick, I mean, Iris Guild Design Studio
Yes.
is in Hilo.
Yes.
So let's say somebody wants to have a real event with all the Filipiniana.
Yes,
or, you know?
they could call me. I actually started to have some clients in Honolulu. There's a pageant that's coming up and things like that, where two of my gowns would be competing one to the other and things and stuff like that. So it's kind of exciting in a way and things and stuff like that. But they show that I proved to them that I could be, you know, objective and things and stuff like that, and it's an individual. A lot of the materials that I bring in and things like that is usually one of a kind. So you know, you'll never have anything. I mean, you know, the design might look the same things, like, but it's always different. Yes, aside from it's fitted to you, and things. So they could call me.
And how long does it take for one custom made?
If it doesn't involve beading and things and stuff like that, it takes about a week to do. But then again, I do have customers and things and stuff like that, so it's not like you could call me next week and say, oh, I need it for next Saturday. It's better that you actually have a lot more planning. And aside from, you know, I get you involved in the process. So you pick out the materials that you want, the fit that you want, and everything else and stuff like that. So it's uniquely yours, down to the wedding gowns and things like that. So you actually have that couture where I would do a sample garment and how tight you want it and how, you know, fitted you want it. If you want it to be a little bit more sexy, we could always do that.
Well, this one looks like uniquely mine. Well, that's all the time that we have with Gil. I wish we have more, but for now, we bid you.
Thank you. Again, you know, you could reach me at 982-9225. That's 808. It's the best way to, you know, communicate with me and things and stuff like that. I don't have Facebook or anything else like that. I'm way too busy sewing. Sorry. But I do have an email, which I'm pretty sure that they're going to go ahead and post it on the bottom of the screen, you know, during the broadcast for you and things and stuff like that. So, again, maraming salamat.
Well, aloha, mahalo, mabuhay.
Aloha.